Okay, so welcome everyone to today's webinar with our partner PriceLabs. So I'm happy to be here today with Richie on PriceLabs side, and I'm Audrey, partnerships responsible at BookingSync, a French PMS. So we thought we wanted to start the year by giving you some pricing strategy. And I'm really happy, Richie, that you are here today to share with us some of the pricing tactics that you recommend to apply in 2021. There will be actually 10 tactics that we are going to discuss together during this webinar. So short reminder that if you can't hear us, be sure to be connected to the audio. As you can see underneath the video, there is a chat, and you can ask us any questions you may have in this YouTube chat. Richie and myself are here connected to answer any questions you may have in this chat. Also, if after the webinar you have further questions, don't hesitate to reach out to the PriceLabs team at support@pricelabs.co or contact BookingSync, our support team, via the user manual. We will be recording this webinar for future access, and it will be published on the BookingSync YouTube channel if you later want to watch it. So a bit about the agenda. We will talk quickly about PriceLabs and BookingSync, make a short introduction of our softwares. Then Richie will introduce the 10 pricing strategies that everyone should be implementing for the year to come. And again, as said, you can ask any questions you may have in the chat. We are here connected to answer the questions. Thank you, everyone. And I will let you start the presentation, Richie, about PriceLabs.
Audrey, thank you so much for having us on this webinar with BookingSync. So a bit about PriceLabs. We are a revenue management platform for the vacation rental industry. Our customers, they are typically running either a vacation rental business or an Airbnb business or apart hotels and the likes, right? They vary, they range from owners who have one property to property managers who have a few thousand. And we have 3 different products. We have dynamic pricing, which is rate automation. We do everything. You may put in some rules to control the algorithm, but your rates get sent to BookingSync, and BookingSync sends those to various channels. Second is market dashboards. We're going to see a bunch of it today. Market dashboards is a product where you can see information about your area, what other property managers or hosts are doing, like various kind of details that we'll cover in today. And thirdly, we recently launched in December Portfolio Analytics, which is free for all BookingSync users for the next 12 months. And there you can see details about what's happening with your property, various kind of analytics that help you make better decisions. And then a little bit more about PriceLabs. We started in 2014. We've been working for the last 6 years. Our teams divided between US, Brazil, Portugal, France, and India. And so those are kind of the languages that we speak as well. We've priced over 100,000 properties, and our customers are spread out over 100 countries. Cool. With that, Audrey, over to you.
Yep, thank you, Richie. I'm happy to share some words about BookingSync. So we are a French PMS with more than 30 years of experience in the vacation rental industry and over 20 years in software development. We have more than 23,000 active rentals on our software, more than 450 active accounts, and we have accounts and properties in more than 26 countries. Our whole team is remote, so we are 40 employees, and among the 40 employees, 17 nationalities. And so we're very happy to be that international, and we are also all together working for BookingSync with an important goal, which is to give up to 50% of our benefits to charities. a bit more into details what is a PMS. So we have quite a few features inside this PMS, such as channel manager, website builder. So we are generating one website per BookingSync account for you to get direct bookings. We also have a notifications system inside the PMS for you to create automated communication with your guests. There is also a unified inbox where you can receive the messages from the different channels and directly answer them. And we have integration with payment gateways for you to take payments. A quick overview on the channels we have a direct connection with. So we are in direct connection with Airbnb, with Booking.com, where we've been preferred partners for the last years. We have also connection with HomeAway, TripAdvisor, Mr. B&B, Magic Stay, and more recently, we also integrated with Expedia, Flatio, and that's it. And we are working on integrating more channels. If you have any questions on both companies, for maybe a new, not yet a client of either PriceLabs or BookingSync, of course, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to provide you with a complete demo of our softwares. I give it back to you, Richie. And so we will jump now in the 10 tactics that PriceLabs is recommending for the year to come. So we know 2020 has been a difficult year. The situation was unexpected and we had to adapt really quickly. 2021 is unfortunately still not really predictable, but still we have a bit more experience, and based on the previous year, we know more what we should do to save our businesses and to be here for when our industry is going to pick up again. So the first question I have for you, Richie, is about the recommendation you make to keep the calendar open for future dates. Can you tell us a bit more about this tactic?
Yeah, I have seen it quite often that a lot of property managers or owners only open up their calendars for 3 months or 6 months. Sometimes it's the fear of they don't want to get a booking at a lower cost or something, right? Or they don't want to fill up their calendar with very small bookings. I am not fully sure, but if it is possible for you, keep your calendar as open as possible, at least for the next 365 days, right? And even in 2020, we saw a lot of people get bookings for 2021 even, right? Like more than 365 days out. So if you can open up your calendar for at least 6 months to an year, if you're worried about that people might book far out rates at a cheaper price, you should increase your far out rates. And then as the dates approach, decrease them, right? And then if you are worried about that, you might get a lot of short bookings on your calendar far out, and you don't want to get those, increase the minimum stays on your listing for far out dates. So for example, for summer or in December, just have longer minimum stay restrictions. I know both within BookingSync, you can do this if you wanted to. If you're directly connected to Airbnb or one of the channels, you can do it there. And if you use PriceLabs, we can also automate this where your far out rates are increased and your minimum stays for far out days are increased automatically. But what that does is it allows you, it gives you, it increases the probability of you receiving a booking. So open up your calendar unless you have a very strong reason not to.
Perfect. So yeah, even if the situation is not the best, what you're saying is that there is still activity. People are still booking. So it's important to keep the calendar open for when your properties can welcome guests, because you might get bookings. Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's jump into the second tactic. You say increase prices for weekends, high season events, and holidays in 2021. So I understand that, again, even if the situation is a bit difficult. You're not encouraging to decrease the prices that much. Is this correct?
Two parts, right? I mean, this is essentially an evergreen strategy, which you should have maybe higher weekend, higher high season events and holiday prices. But if you're looking at like maybe next 30, 60, 90 days, maybe don't increase prices by all that much. But if you're looking into the summer, or you're looking into if there are summer holidays in your area, if there are summer events in your area, if you're looking more towards fall or winter, right? For those, I would definitely go in and preserve the rates for those, right? I won't discount all of them. We saw a lot of people discount rates very, very deeply. This increasing rates for weekends, high seasons, events, holidays is an evergreen strategy, which surprisingly still a lot of owners and hosts don't do, right? But you should go in and do that. Look at 2021, where things are happening in your market, and increase those. Now, if by March we don't see a lot of activity, then for those next 90 days, you should decrease rates. But like, don't have the, for example, if you're in United States, your July 4th, make sure your date is high enough. Your rates for July 4th is high enough. Similarly, I'm sure there are similar events in France. I have, like, for example, if you're in Cannes, I don't know when the Cannes festival is this year, if it will happen, but if it does happen, you want to preserve rates for those days, right? If you're using PriceLabs, we automatically do this. Like if you're using our dynamic pricing part, we automatically do this. If you're not using PriceLabs, you can. We also have a product called Market Dashboards, where you manually want to check, where you can see what dates are getting bookings. So you may want to increase rates. And then Google is your best friend when you're trying to find events and holidays in your area. So yeah. So Audrey, what are you guys thinking about summer this year in terms of bookings once things open up?
Yeah, so what we've seen actually, and I'm talking mainly for France, is that there is already booking coming in for the summer, more than for the winter season. So we had the announcement in France that ski resorts will be closed for the Christmas holidays. It might be still closed for the February holidays. And so yeah, people tend to book for the summer. And there was quite a few international travels during Christmas, but it seems that countries are closing again. So for sure, the trend for the next month will be very last minute bookings. And I think it's very important to be flexible on that. So to shorten the minimum advance notice for you to get last minute bookings. Of course, if you can manage last minute check-in. But be very, very flexible on this. And pay attention to your prices for the summer, because we see already bookings coming in. So
yeah, and I think there is like there are a lot of people who haven't taken vacation in quite some time, especially cross-country vacation, like people from US coming into Europe, or people from UK coming into Europe, or wherever, right? A lot of people who haven't taken vacations for quite some time, and they have some of them have savings that they may want to spend on, right? So you, like, once, we don't know when this will stop. I've been telling everyone that it will stop in the next 3 months, but it's been going on for some time, unfortunately. But now that we have vaccines, I have hope that at least by summer, we should start to see some of this travel back and forth. And when we do see that travel, people will have money, people will want to take vacations. And you don't want to have low rates for your summer dates today and get booked out, because you could potentially charge more, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my idea. But you trumped my next strategy. Why don't you go to that?
Optimize rates for last minute bookings. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you did say this, and what we are seeing is there is like more and more last minute bookings happening because there is so much uncertainty that's building up. Don't know when countries are going into lockdown. Don't know when someone who's getting vaccine when, and when can someone travel or whatever, right? There's been a lot of uncertainty. So we have seen in general a shrink in a shrink in the lead time to booking. I don't know if you guys have seen this in your data, but we've seen a shrinkage in lead time to booking. We've been seeing this for the last couple of years as people are booking online a lot more, right? So the lead time has been decreasing, but lately in 2020, it was really small because people were just making very last minute decisions. And as people are making those very last minute decisions, you need to go back and rethink your last minute prices, right? Because a lot of you may have last minute discounts that you may have applied. And if the demand is only coming in last minute, you may want to relook at those discounts, right? You may want to have maybe slightly higher prices if you're getting a lot of last minute bookings, or if you're not getting any last minute bookings, but the market is getting last minute bookings, you may want to discount this. Once again, you can look at it on our market dashboards, or if you're using PriceLabs does a bunch of this automatically, right? But if you're not using any automation, you want to relook, maybe using PriceLabs' market dashboard or other analytics tools to look at when are bookings coming in your area. You want to also think about when are you getting bookings and adjust your last minute either discounts or increases based on what's happening in your market. Does that make sense? Because the approach has completely changed of what happens with last minutes.
Yeah, definitely agree. And I think it's a great recommendation. Let's go to the next one. Revisit competitor pricing monthly to make sure you're priced relatively well. So you advise here to take a look at the competition, see what are what the competitors doing. Do you have any specific recommendations linked with this tactic?
What we do at PriceLabs, maybe can I share my screen if that's okay?
Sure. Let me give you the right. Okay, you should have the right to take the.
Okay.
Take the control to share your screen.
Got it. You cannot start sharing screen while other person. I think you're sharing right now.
What about now?
Yep. Okay, so we said visit your competitor pricing monthly. One, you want to go in there every so often to look at what's happening in the market, right? You want to be, you don't want to be too high, or you don't want to sell too low. So that's why maybe it's Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com, whatever your market generally gets booking from, right? You want to go into those platforms and see how your competitors are charging for certain dates, right? Basically just fairly straightforward. I'm sure most of you have done this. Go into Airbnb, select the dates that you want to check for, select the dates that you want to check for, and then you can see how everyone's pricing, right? You'll see the pricing pop up. In PriceLabs, this is somewhat what Audrey was saying. For example, I'm seeing in a very local dummy, this is a dummy listing, I'm seeing in a very local Chicago area. What we tend to do is for closing dates, because there are no bookings or very limited bookings, we tend to reduce prices. But then as we go farther out, we don't really always want to undersell from the market. So by the way, blue line is your 50th to 75th percentile of the market. Orange line is your 25th to 50th percentile of the market. In closing dates, I want to be under, so that if there are any bookings coming, I get that, right? But as I go far out, you'll see, I am actually pricing more than the market in some cases, right? I'm going above and below the competition, depending on date and time and season. This might be incredibly hard for you to do if you're doing this manually, but at a minimum, go check for certain dates, especially the next 30 days, next 60 days, how you are in comparison to the competitors because of the last minute bookings. And then secondly, for those events on holidays that we already mentioned, do check your competitors, and you may want to be in that top 60th, 70th percentile or higher if that's going to be a high demand day. Does that make sense?
Perfect.
And
yeah. Thanks for showing the dashboard. And so the dashboard you just show is available on PriceLabs, right?
It's available on PriceLabs, and it is part of our dynamic pricing. So when we do dynamic pricing, everyone, we look at individual listing, and for that listing, we pull 300 closest listings. And what you just saw were those prices of 300 closest listings, and the black line was the user's price.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's great information. And maybe just a short reminder that all the dynamic prices generated by PriceLabs, thanks to the integration with BookingSync, are actually sent to BookingSync. So you will see them on your BookingSync account, and you can still on top add some rates rules from BookingSync. But yeah, everything is automatically sent by PriceLabs to BookingSync for us to push those prices to the channels.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the fifth tactic, which
this is. Let me ask you this tactic, okay. Because this is more BookingSync. How do you guys have thoughts around various OTAs and partnerships, and how are you guys supporting your customers in that space?
Definitely, yeah. So we've seen an increasing demand in midterm rentals channels. So we recently partnered with Flatio, for example, which is a midterm platform really strong in the Eastern Europe, but also in Portugal, and they are expanding in Europe. We also have a partnership with Magic Stay. So when I say partnership, it means direct connection. So you simply have to push your properties to those channels, and all the information, meaning the rentals and the bookings information, will be automatically sent to the channel. So it's very easy and quick. So we have those two partnerships which are live already, but we are also in discussions with other midterm channels for us to offer this direct connection to our clients, because it's true that we've seen some property managers that started to be interested in midterm renting, especially in big cities. So properties like apartments that are in big cities, since travelers are at the moment not really tempting for a city break, unfortunately. We have to fill those apartments in the urban areas, and I think that this kind of channels can be a really good solution for filling these properties that are empty at the moment. Also because business travel is coming back, we also have some remote worker looking for new apartments and place to stay for some months. So it's something really, really interesting. And quite new. So it was, I think, like there was like really two different businesses: the short-term rental, which we would call vacation rental, and the midterm. And yeah, so it's quite a new trend, and we are trying to work on it and to offer our clients connections with these channels, niche channels, as you say, which are strong and which can bring a good traffic.
Super cool. And this strategy kind of goes hand in hand with the first strategy that we looked at, which is open your calendar for future dates. Essentially, what you want to do is increase increase the probability of you getting a booking. So if you are a property manager and you have, or even if you're an owner with a couple of properties and you're still like you're not using a PMS, I would highly recommend you to take a look at BookingSync, because like these systems allow you to increase the probability of you getting to more users using niche OTAs to target long term. If you're in certain vacation destinations, BookingSync and BookingSync's partners may target those channels as well. So it just increases your probability. So if you're still on the fence about using a PMS, just for this very reason that you can distribute your properties, could be a very good reason to look at it.
Awesome. Thanks, Richie. Let's jump to the next one. Optimize cancellation policies. Yeah, I think so. We started talking about it when we were mentioning about the importance of accepting the last minute bookings. So you might be more flexible with the advance minimum notice for you to get booking, but also cancellation policies. So we've seen also the channels, Airbnb, Booking.com, being quite strong in the communication to really convince property managers to set more flexible cancellation policies.
Exactly.
So I confirm that's something we also recommend, and that we've seen the channels and the major OTAs also pushing for that. Do you have any more inputs on that?
Two things to add. One, we have seen drop in bookings, especially during 2020. For people who had stricter cancellation policies, they generally got, now it depends on market to market, but they generally got lesser bookings than the flexible cancellation policy, maybe because people are still very uncertain with the whole travel stuff, right? The second thing there is, I would still play around with, like, that does not mean that the strict cancellation policy is not getting bookings. So if you have a portfolio, maybe if you have 10 properties, right? What you can do is maybe put 3 or 4 on strict and the remaining 6 on flexible, right? That way you can optimize some of your revenue in terms of like people who are booking the strict ones, at least you're getting in revenue in case there's a lockdown that happens or something that happens, right? And then your flexible properties are still attracting those people who are really looking for flexible, if that makes sense, right? And once again, in PriceLabs, in our market dashboards, you can see cancellation policy, and like you can, Audrey, if it's okay, can I once again share my screen?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Cool. So if you can see my screen, let me, hold on, move this Zoom screen.
That was good.
Okay. So these are PriceLabs' market dashboards, which you can, by the way, specify an address and you can specify a radius, and we pull all the listings in that area to saying what's happening, right? And we go max 1,000 listings. So I will jump down to the policies and fees here. What I wanted to show was in Valencia, within the 10 kilometers, the 1,000 listings that we are seeing that the blue bar is what percentage of listings have what kind of policy. So more than 40% have flexible. There are still those 27% who have strict. The second thing, orange, is what percent of these listings are getting, what percentage of bookings are these listings getting, right? So 44.6% list bookings are coming to these flexible ones. And for stricter ones, they're only getting 25% of the bookings. Generally, the way I read this is if the orange line is above the blue line, that means you're getting a larger share of the bookings. Orange line is below the blue line, you're getting a smaller share of the bookings. So yeah, that's where I want to come in and say, One, maybe this could look different for your market. So you can come into PriceLabs and create a quick dashboard to see what the cancellation policies look like. There are other policies too, but we're focusing on this right now. What the cancellation policies look like. And the second thing that I wanted to address, if you have 10 properties, it's not that the stricter ones are not getting bookings. They are still getting bookings. Of course, the prices might be a little lower. There might be, so if you look at it, the base nightly rate for strict booking is 75, versus actually flexible one is lower, which is crazy. But you may, like, if you have 10 properties, maybe 7 on flexible and 3 on strict or something like that, play around with it. Play around with it is my recommendation.
Just wanted to add also a small comment, because I know so property manager can be worried about setting only flexible cancellation policy, which I understand, because then if the guests cancel, you lose your revenue. Just a short information that we have a partnership with an insurance provider, which is called Safe Booking. They're quite famous in France for now. And they actually offer your guests to book, to pay for an extra service, which would be a cancellation insurance, which will guarantee you, as a property manager, your revenue. And so this can be also a great combination to offer strict cancellation policy, but the insurance cancellation to your guests, for them to get back their money in case they have to cancel. They even have a COVID extension, so it covers some of the COVID cases that may bring the guest to cancel his booking, and you as a property manager, you still get the money you were supposed to get. So yeah, just think about it. Also, it can be a great solution to avoid too much last minute cancellation and losing all your revenues, because we understand it can be something a bit scary, I would say.
Yeah, completely. But that's the whole point of playing around with it. Audrey, you may need to share your screen again.
Exactly.
Or actually, do you want me to just share my screen? Because the next few, we covered some basic ones, and in the next few, we'd go into some advanced tactics here, where sure. I may need to go back and forth between my screen.
No problem.
Cool. Let me figure out how to do this. Do you see my screen?
Yeah, very good.
All right, cool. I think we've discussed the cancellation policies quite a bit.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump to the next one here. And the next one here is somewhat we covered it already, which is pricing tactics for your high season. Now, high season may vary based on where you are, right? But you do want to ask a couple of questions to yourself as you're thinking about the high season, right? One, is your high season already beginning to book? You can get this data from various analytics tools. Once again, I've said market dashboards a few times. You can get it at market dashboards. If you don't have that, you can just go into Airbnb and see if, like, without searching for dates, just look at how many properties are there in your area. And then after that, maybe search for a specific date in your high season and see if there are lesser listings. If there are, that means your market is already starting to book for high season. Second question that you want to think about is, generally in your high season, do you get longer length of stays? You might get longer length of stays in your high season, especially because if people are traveling with families. I'm sure, Audrey, you're very familiar with this in southern France, or even I'm not sure where you are right now, and maybe in Brittany too. People do come in during summer for longer stays. So you do want to think about your length of stay strategy for your high season. Whether you want to have your longer length of stays or shorter length of stays, right? And specifically, even within the high season, you may want to look at, are there certain dates that are getting uptakes? Once again, quick plug here, market dashboards can quickly show you. I'll probably show it to you in a second. But yeah, that's things that you want to question. Is your market already starting to book? Does it have a different length of stay in high season compared to the rest of the years? And are there specific dates in the high season that are already starting to get a booking? If it is, some things that you may want to do is you want to set higher rates early on. So for right now, if your high season is summer, you may want to set higher rates. You also may want to set a higher minimum stay if generally your market gets higher minimum, like stay longer stays, and then gradually decrease as the date approaches if you're not seeing that booking, right? And then look for specific demand dates so that you can increase rates for those days, right? I'm going to I'm going to change my screen share to go back to market dashboards to show you real quick what I mean by this. Audrey, you'd have to help me, tell me if you can see my market dashboard here.
I do.
Okay. And apologies for anyone listening in. Now I'm juggling between a few screens, so you'll have to excuse me. But for example, we are looking at Valencia market, right? And I'm not sure what's happening here, but so mid-March, we're seeing a little bit of a peak in Valencia in terms of bookings, right? And then we're starting to see some smaller peaks around, say, May. This is so far out in October, November, we're starting to see some peaks. And those peaks are dates where you want to go in and increase your rates, right? You can also see it in prices where some people are already increasing prices for March, and something's happened like in early December. People are already starting to increase prices. That's what you want to do for your high seasons. You want to, like I said, set higher rates early on and then gradually decrease rates if you are not booked for your high season. Secondly, set longer minimum stays if your market gets longer minimum stays. Set longer minimum stays and then gradually decrease them. And then lastly, look for specific dates. Those are your money-making days. Don't lose those dates. Have relatively higher rates than your competition for those dates. And if 30 days out, you still don't have a booking, you may want to change it. Any thoughts? Or maybe you're on mute.
Yeah, I was muted, sorry. But yeah, completely agree with what you described. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing else to add.
Cool. And a bunch of this automatically PriceLabs does. For far out rates, we have higher prices, and you can set minimum stays automatically so that if the date approaches and it's still not booked, it gradually decreases, right? But if you have a few properties and you want to do this manually, I would highly recommend doing this, where you start with a higher price, and then if you're not booked, gradually decrease them, and start with a higher length of stay and gradually decrease them. Cool. All right, I'm going to skip through this. I hear this often, getting more bookings further out, and especially now. A lot of people talk about, I am getting last minute bookings, but I'm not getting those far out bookings. What should I do, right? I'm sure maybe you've heard this too, Audrey. What should I do? I'm only getting last minute bookings. Firstly, don't get anxious. 2020 was very different, and potentially 2021 might be very different than how we have all done business historically, right? It might just be that for like those further out bookings are not prevalent in your area anymore. So like maybe in 2019, 2018, people were already booking in Jan or Feb their summer stays. And if in Jan and Feb, you don't see bookings on your calendar for the summer, don't freak out. It might just be because that's consumer sentiment. People might not be ready to commit all the way, right? What you want to do is not get paranoid, but look at data. Look at data to saying, is there demand far out, right? If there is demand far out, that's when we need to do something about, can I get bookings further out, right? So that's the first question to ask yourself. Is there demand far out? You can do this in a couple of ways. If you're using dynamic pricing, we show it in our dashboard, the graph that you're seeing. The gray is market occupancy and orange is, or pinkish is your own occupancy. You can go to Airbnb and check if the number of listings are decreasing for certain dates, right? Or you can use PriceLabs' market dashboards where you can see data around what the occupancy looks like, right? But net, you want to see if there is no occupancy. So let me tell you what's happening here in the gray graph. Gray graph, it starts at 60%. There is good occupancy in, like, say, Jan, where we are today. It's gradually dropping, which as it does, right? And then for it's steadying down. But in July, I'm starting to see there is some occupancy in the market, right? If you have a large portfolio and if you're not seeing bookings here, you may want to consider looking at your prices, right? But maybe your graph just looks like that there is no booking in the market further out. In that case, don't panic. Dropping rates will not change anything. If there is no booking, there is no booking in your market. But so say you figured out there is some booking in your market, what should you do? Within PriceLabs, once again, you can see if like we show you where your prices are, the green one, and then you can see like the market, where the market is priced at. If you're only getting last minute bookings and you're not getting far out bookings, it might be because last minute we are pricing you under the market and far out you're priced way above the market. The quick fix would be to drop this slightly, right? That is what you want to do if you are not getting bookings further out. Very similarly, if you were in a pattern and you're not using PriceLabs and you're not getting these further out bookings, but the market is, you want to look at your prices in comparison to the market. Your prices are always relative to the market for a certain date. It is never, a lot of people talk about, I am 50th percentile of the market, but it depends on which day as you're trying to optimize. For a heavy booking day, maybe you want to be at the 90th percentile of the market. And for a low demand day, you want to be at the 10th percentile of the market to get that booking, right? But if you're, number one, don't panic, check if your market is getting bookings. Number two, if it is getting bookings, you want to maybe look at if you are not priced too high related to the competition, right? Totally depends on how far you are from the booking date. Cool. Makes sense. I've said a lot of words, Audrey.
Yeah, but yeah, makes completely sense. And these are great recommendations, actually. And I think it's important, yeah, to check what's going on in your local market. Maybe something that you don't have much time to dedicate for, and maybe something you're not used to do. And if not, we really advise you to give it a look and yeah, pay attention to that. See what's going on in your market, and probably if you're not experiencing the same, you might adjust something.
Exactly. And then quickly, if there are listeners who are using PriceLabs, there are a few different things that you can do in PriceLabs. You can create different kind of rate patterns between further out and close in by adjusting your last minute discounts. Secondly, we do occupancy based adjustments. So if you're not getting a booking further out, we will automatically decrease your prices as those dates approach, or if you start getting a booking, we will automatically increase rates. If you want to preserve some rates, you can look at far out minimum prices. And then lastly, a software is as good as a person who's operating it. So do go in there every couple of days. We make all of this data very easy for you to find and look at. So do go in there and look to see if there are certain trends that you want to spot there. I realize this is becoming dense, but hopefully useful, because we're getting into very dense stuff. I only have two more strategies. They're relatively advanced strategies. You may need a pricing tool, at least a PMS or something to do this properly, right? My next strategy is attracting longer stays. You want to attract, like, especially in a low demand market, you want to attract longer stays, and which is why we talk a lot about those midterm stays and monthly discount, monthly stays and whatever, right? The two things that you want to do if you want to attract longer stays. Number one, once again, you want to know if your market is getting longer stays, right? So for example, if I look at the left side here, the length of stay graph, I'm seeing number of nights that are occupied by length of stay. So what I'm seeing here is the number of nights occupied are dramatically higher for those 29 plus day stays. So this market is getting long-term stays, right? Once again, you can find these details on our market dashboard. If the graph did not look like this, 29 plus days, or these longer stays did not look as high, as tall, but the shorter ones, these ones looked a lot bigger, then you're not getting as many long stays in your market. Second, you also want to check, are weekly and monthly discounts common in your market? Once again, this data all comes from market dashboard. You can see what kind of discounts are people offering, and what kind of like number of properties that are doing it, and what kind of booking percentages they're seeing. What we starkly see here is someone who's offering 11 to 15% discount is getting fairly higher bookings, right? This data is, of course, very dependent on your market, right?
Just a small question, Richie. We are here talking about discounts. So it's not about lowering the basic rates, but still applying the same basic rates, and on top of that, discount.
Exactly. On top of that, discount. I also want to address one more thing here that I do not have a slide about, but I'm going to come to your discount piece first. We're talking about discounts. We're not talking about lowering your rate. And so then the next question is, how do I even think about that discount? Like, how much discount should I offer? The good way to think about it is, say you typically get 80% occupancy or 70% occupancy in a month, or you're expecting a 70% occupancy or 75% occupancy in this case. What you want to do is look at saying, okay, if I 100 minus my expected occupancy, which is 75%, 25% is roughly the monthly discount that I can offer to get the same amount of revenue, right? Your longer stays will, of course, have lower ADRs, right? The discounts, you'll have to give discounts to reduce those rates. But what does end up happening is you book a longer chunk. That's how you make overall roughly the same amount, right? Also, longer stays have lower discount. So you may make a little less, but in current market, it might be worth it, right, to have those weekly and monthly discounts. Last thing that I want to address here is I go back to my first strategy where I said open your calendar for 365 days. What you don't want to do is get very, very small 1-2 day sporadic bookings on your calendar far out, because once you have that, you can no longer have, like say in June, if you're booked for 5 days here and there, and then if you wanted to put the June for a monthly stay, you probably couldn't do it, right? So what you also want to do in order to attract longer stays is have differentiated minimum stays. Maybe for far out dates, you have slightly higher minimum stays than your close-in dates, right? And as those dates come in closer, you change those minimum stays, right? But that's another very important thing to do. Keep your calendars open, but change your minimum stay restrictions so that you don't get those sporadic bookings, but you can get those longer bookings. I do want to caveat, just because we in this webinar said that you should think about your longer stays does not mean you can get longer stays. It really depends on your market. Go look at that data wherever you do it. You can come to PriceLabs and look at it on our market dashboards. You can go to Airbnb and search. There are several other platforms that you can search, but look at if your market's getting those longer stays, and then appropriately think about a strategy.
Great.
Audrey, any thoughts there? I have one last one left.
Exactly. I'm excited to hear about the last strategy you're advising.
All right. Last strategy that I'm advising here. People are still taking vacations. People are still going out with their families, whatever, right? And we're still seeing differences between weekdays versus weekends, right? If you're not seeing any pacing differences between weekdays and versus weekends, like if you're sitting where all of your weekends are getting booked, but your weekdays are not getting booked, you need to think about a little bit about your pricing strategy, right? Or if you're seeing your weekdays are only getting booked last minute, but your weekends are getting booked far out even, you may want to rethink about pricing strategy. Once again, I will quickly pop in and show you something on our market dashboard here. For example, we show a day of week occupancy factor, depending on the market that you're in. And what you can clearly see here is that Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays see a lot more occupancy in Valencia market. Of course, the occupancies are very depressed right now, but see a lot more occupancy. And thus, you can potentially have those Fridays, Saturdays, and maybe even Thursdays at a slightly higher price than your rest of the week. That's on the data side, but if I come back to the pricing strategies that I'm talking about, what should you be doing if you are seeing some of this, right? If your weekends even far out are getting bookings too quickly, you may want to have different weekend prices far out versus close in. If your weekdays are not getting bookings, you can do two things. You can decrease the weekday rates. Of course, you have to see if your market is getting weekday bookings, but decrease your weekday rates. And secondly, maybe potentially offer higher length of stay discounts during the week, right? For those midweek bookings. For weekends that are far out, maybe currently you're getting 2-day weekend bookings, right? And for your far out weekends, maybe in the summer, you don't want to block your calendar with those 2-day weekends. You can have either 7-day minimum strategy or maybe at least a 3 to 4 day weekend strategy, right? So that you have you're blocking more of your calendar, right? And lastly, within PriceLabs, we have occupancy-based discounts. What that does is, if we see your weekends are getting booked, but your weekdays are not getting booked, or essentially we look at if in a set of days, if some are getting booked and others are not, we're going to decrease prices based on occupancy rates. So we do that automatically. But if the automatic thing does not work for you, if you're seeing weekdays versus weekend patterns, these are some of the implementations that you should look at. Hopefully, that's my 10 tips. I know it was a little dense, but hope you get to apply some of this. Audrey, thank you for bearing with this. Any thoughts here? Any other 11th tip that you may have for a host?
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you very much, Richie. So, of course, these are recommendations that you can manually apply for your properties. And so thanks for sharing with us your recommendation. Also, because, yeah, you're an expert, you have access to all the data, and your software is actually made for that. And so that's what I wanted to point out. If you don't have the time or don't have the energy or don't have the knowledge to handle all this manually, the good news is that PriceLabs can do it for you automatically. And yeah, so that's as we said at the beginning of the webinar, we are here to answer all the questions you may have following this presentation. And of course, there are things we might not know, we might not expect for the year to come. I think no one is able to really predict how the year is going to happen. Hopefully, good news are coming in the next weeks, and hopefully we can see a good recovery of the.
I am very optimistic about our summer markets. Like I said, like people haven't taken travel. People, some people have money saved up. They're tired of staying at home. Once we are behind this, we may see some travel, right? One thing that I wanted to cover, Audrey, I used a lot of product names interchangeably. I wanted to reiterate, we have 3 products. Number 1, portfolio analytics. I will quickly pop it up on my screen here. Yeah, number 1 is portfolio analytics, and even I can see my screen. I want to make sure you're seeing the right screen. Okay. Number 1 is portfolio analytics. This is free for BookingSync users. Like once you connect your listings, you're going to see various indicators like how much revenue you've made, what's your average length of stay, your average lead time, number of reservations. You can compare this. You can see it as bookings made in the last 30 days or stays. And then you can also compare it with the last 30 days or same period last year. You can look at how your listings are doing, percent occupancy versus days since last booking. These are the ones that are doing terribly. I want to go in and look at what's happening. These are doing actually really well. I may want to see if I want to adjust prices here. Various date level insights that you can see, monthly trends in terms of how much revenue you're making, average book rate, number of check-ins, medians. You can look at monthly trends. You can look at day of week trends. We just spoke about weekday versus weekend. You can see if there are any specific day of week trends in your market. And then lastly, you can look at length of stays for your market. Sorry, not your market. This is your own properties. You can look at length of stays, and you can see if what's happening in terms of total book nights. How many book nights are you getting based on booking window? How far out, right? And how long are people staying based on booking nights, right? Once again, this is free for all BookingSync users. All that you need to do is come in, connect your account with PriceLabs, and you will start seeing this data within PriceLabs. Number 2 product that we have is market dashboards that I showed you high level. You can select address. This is where I put in Valencia, Spain, but you could get as granular as you wanted to. Select a radius, and we will show you data around that area. You can see it in a graph in this map, what all listings we are tracking. And we cover all sorts of area. We cover prices, we cover day of week trends, we cover what kind of length of stays you're getting. We cover various kind of amenities that the market has and who's getting booking, who's not based on amenities, various policies and fees. And if you're a property manager, you want to send it to some owners, you can always generate a PDF and send it to your owner. And then lastly, dynamic pricing, which is our main product, where you can set rates based on set rates based on like you don't have to do anything. We automate rates based on events that are happening, holidays, day of week, all of the strategies that we cover. A lot of that is automated, and you can set in some rules, and all of that is automated, goes to BookingSync. And then, Audrey, what does BookingSync do with our prices?
We integrate them, and
we
push them
send
to
them
the
to
channels.
We send them to channels. Fantastic, right? Net, our goal is to simplify this for you guys as you do pricing and revenue management, and like as you run your property management business, right? That's what Audrey and team are doing at BookingSync, and me and PriceLabs folks are trying to do on the revenue side. So perfect. Yeah.
Just wanted to finish on a very positive note. So I got a feedback from a common client of ours who told me, so he is on the French market. He told me that they managed to get the same amount of revenue during the summer 2020 with less bookings than 2019. Very likely thanks to the PriceLabs pricing strategy. So super nice.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Super cool. Fantastic doing this with you, Audrey. Thank you so much for having me here.
You're welcome, Moichi. Thanks, everyone. And hope you enjoyed these recommendations, and we remain at your disposal if you have any further questions. Have a nice day.